Good morning, this is TCR, TroyCommunityRadio.com. I'm Clint Myers on 107.1 WTJN. Saturday morning programming is brought to you by Outlook Financial. And time now for the Mayor's Report. And with me, Mayor Michael Beamish.
Well, Clint, it's good to see you warm and safe, and both you and David, and hopefully everybody out there has been able to weather the storm, and I understand the weather will get better.
Well, it's got to get better than negative 30 wind chill.
well, when this show is aired, it'll be Groundhog Day. Who knows what that means?
Yeah, well, hopefully it doesn't mean that we've got more weeks of winter coming our way.
That's what I'm a little concerned about.
But I do want to say, with this kind of weather, when it gets this rough and brutal with the cold, always make sure you're checking on your neighbors.
Thank you. We elderly and everyone else, if you know you have somebody that's had health issues, check on them. Make sure they're okay, because you never know in that house if their furnace is down or whatever. We've had all kinds of weather, let's face it. In January, I think there's not a weather event that we haven't experienced, including bitter cold,
blizzard-like conditions, the snow, the ice, and when it hits, it comes on pretty quick.
Well, I want to thank you, Clint, because you've always reminded people about snow when we've had snow incidents and events, about keeping the drains clear, keeping the fire hydrants clear. But today you also brought up another good point, is check on your neighbors, especially if they're elderly or if you know they've had some issues with health.
Right. Maybe
you just don't know.
Maybe a simple thing you could do is, while you're salting your own walks and driveway, maybe go over and salt theirs. Just something that you can help out. Check on them. If they live alone, maybe invite them over for an afternoon if you're going to be in the house yourself, and you don't go out when it's weather like we had this week.
Well, that's what community's all about, showing care for each other as a community, and you brought some very good advice with these kind of weather conditions that we've experienced. And I can't think of a time in recent years that we've had all kinds of weather events and incidences that require our city crews, our police, our fire, our EMS, our paramedics to get out and about and do so much. And I give them a big compliment for the efforts that they have also made to protect our citizens.
Oh, absolutely. I think I was just reading an article about the fire department and when they do go out in this brittle cold, and just how quickly that water can freeze. So, whether it's freezing on the ladders, and it makes a tough situation even harder sometimes.
Absolutely.
So those guys are, talk about committed.
If you see somebody, say thank you, because yes. I know they work very hard in all kinds of weather conditions that we've experienced this past month. So let's hope February gets to be a little bit better.
My fingers are crossed. I guarantee you, everything's crossed after this cold snap. The polar vortex that they call it.
Clint, if I can mention Hobart Arena, we're blessed.
Oh.
And having a treasure right here in the Troy community at the Hobart Arena. And I know many people avail themselves. And when you're cooped up in the house and you may want to go somewhere to do something, you don't have to go too far.
Even if you just wanted to go for a walk.
That's right.
You could go into Hobart Arena when it's negative 30 wind chills. You're not walking outside because it is just, you're going to get frostbite.
If they check the website for the Hobart Arena, it'll give them an idea of what events, activities are coming up inside the historic, renovated Hobart Arena. But as you just said, most of the time it's open to people who just like to get out and walk, get some exercise, wellness. That's all good stuff. I've been seeing signs for public skating. That the people can go inside and enjoy things. So, many times we forget that we have a lot of treasures. We got the Hainer Cultural Center, inside type activities. the Hobart Arena inside type activities. So if we're looking for things, and of course the sports programs around the county.
I'm even thinking the rec for the kids and the Lincoln Community Center, a place where the kids can go inside. Lincoln even has a heated pool.
There you go. So sometimes we forget that there are opportunities for us to get out and about without having to weather the storm.
Right. Hey, and while we're talking about cold and the cold snap, I wanted to bring this up that maybe folks don't know. And this is on their utility bills with the city.
Ah, yes.
On the back of the utility bill, there is information there.
That's right. Even on the front of the bill, on the left-hand side, you'll get some key event notices. But if you flip it over, and a lot of people don't, they just want to see, what do I owe this month?
They're looking at the total.
They're looking at the total. But if they flip it, that's excellent point that you make, Clint. It does give phone numbers of places. Instead of calling one place, they can go right to the source of their question and get an answer. So we do try to provide some information, even though the utility bills everybody's looking at the bottom line, and that's how much to owe for the month.
Right, but on the back side, say you do have a water problem on the outside of the house. Well, you can call city utilities, the water department.
Yep.
Or electric, or whichever it may be, or whoever you need to get in touch with.
That's an excellent point. I'm glad you brought that up. So one piece of paper can help you in a lot of different ways.
Exactly. I want to talk about something that I saw this and I was really neat and touched, and it's about our sister city. We had a guest in over the weekend that came here for a pretty much a very specific reason.
And this was not a governmental visit. This was a personal citizen visit that we have become friends with over the many years of their sister city relationship. But we call him Nigo-san. He chose to make that 15, 16-hour flight over to Troy, Ohio, to pay his respects to the late Mayor Pete Jenkins' gravesite, and to also see Ruth Jenkins in that process and meet with some of his friends. That, to me, when you think of a citizen 9,000 miles away that has developed that kind of a relationship, it does prove that a sister city relationship done right can be a very long-term, healthy relationship. He demonstrated by his visit care, compassion, and love for not only an individual that he had grown to know, but to the city, that he would take that time to fly in. And here's the kicker. It was only for a weekend visit. He was flying in.
Just came in for that.
And flying out. Now, the weather played factor in his getting out, so he had a delay getting out, but we hope he's back safely, back at Takahashi City, and we were very blessed to have him visit us. He is a true friend, but what he demonstrated was the power of a relationship over the miles. And he got a chance to pay his respects to the late Mayor Pete Jenkins. Heart,
soul, blood, we're all the same, no matter where we're coming from.
That's right. And I don't know what to say other than to say thank you to him. I know he's not listening because he's home, I hope.
But it was very touching to have that.
But it lets us as residents know the power of our sister city relationship.
All right, which this kind of moves us on to council. This was is going to be was an off week. Now you're getting ready for council on Monday.
Monday, February 4th. It doesn't seem possible, but we're February 4th, 7 o'clock, council chambers. There will be a couple of agenda items. I can just whet the appetite, and we'll have some report from the Recreation and Parks Committee. They are looking at council approval of a resurfacing project for the recreational trails. Now, a lot of people think that we're paying the whole thing, and it would be not to exceed $210,000. However, ODOT, in relationship with the Miami Valley Regional Planning Commission, has grants, and they 80% of the money will be coming from one of those grants. The rest is already budgeted for that, but that's to do some resurfacing on the city limits of a recreational trail system. So that report and vote of council will probably be forthcoming. Also, just another whet the appetite from the Finance Committee. And this is, we see equipment out there all the time. Many times we need more, or things break down and we have to replace. This is a replacement. Well, actually, it's purchasing a multi-purpose loader for the cemetery operations. It's not to exceed $81,000. It's in the budget for this year. It's a versatile piece of equipment, so it has many possibilities on the use.
Okay.
But it was something that was postponed, but now we see that it's needed. And so the Finance Committee met earlier, and we'll make a recommendation to full council to purchase that versatile piece, multi-purpose loader for the cemetery operations. But it can be used, as we found out with different weather conditions. All of the departments chip in and help out. So.
Well, I have noticed that it isn't just the street crew that is out pushing snow. I notice city vehicles that have plows on the front of them.
Absolutely.
If it's a city truck, then there's a plow.
And we usually, a lot of people say, well, what about those sidewalks? Well, you know the bridges, they have pieces of equipment that can just handle the sidewalks along the bridges and overpasses. So, we're out there using what we have, and this is another piece of equipment that has versatility and can be used, and hopefully council will approve that purchase this February 4th. So there might be other things on the agenda. I just thought I'd tell you there's two for sure.
Well, I want to once again extend my great thanks to all of the city workers who have been out cleaning streets, keeping things salted, working on that, working while the rest of us are sleeping. And I do want to remind the citizens of Troy something else, that sometimes they may think that their street was forgotten or something isn't getting done quite the way they think it should be done. When you look at, say, Georgia or Texas, you get into some of these areas when they get half of what we might get, it completely shuts down their city, not just schools. They cannot handle that. So we're prepared for it, and it's still tough.
That it is, and they have other responsibilities along with it.
Exactly.
But we've just had a unique month. We've had almost every kind of a weather event that you can experience. We have experienced that, and it requires a different approach regardless of the event. So thank you, and I'm sure our people who listen to that, if they're so inclined, if they see a street worker out doing their job,
thank
and
them.
First responders, thank them, because they are going and not only doing their regular job, but they're also dealing with events that have no control. A weather event.
Right, and it's under being able to understand all of that.
Correct.
Put together.
Correct. Thank you, Clint, for those good tips today that you shared.
And thank you so much, Mayor. Anything else you'd like to add in?
No, other than I hope everybody stays warm and dry and safe, and that we continue to move and look forward to Think Spring.
Oh, hey, I don't have a problem with that at all. I'll even go further. I'm already thinking summer.
There you go.
This has been the Mayor's Report with Mayor Michael Beamish. I'm Clint Myers on 107.1 WTJN.